Have you ever wondered what millionaires actually do with their money? Not the flashy stuff you see on social media, but what their actual bank accounts look like. I was incredibly curious about this, so I embarked on a massive project. I got the chance to analyze the anonymized financial data from over 1,000 millionaires. What I discovered was genuinely surprising. It wasn't about finding some secret stock pick or a magic investment. It was about seeing a pattern, a set of habits and principles that were remarkably consistent across the board. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain and share exactly what I found. These aren't just theories. This is what the numbers showed, and it paints a very clear picture of how wealth is truly built and maintained. The very first thing that jumped out at me was something I call the gap. This isn't a clothing store, but something far more important. It's the space between what they earn and what they spend. For almost every single millionaire in the dataset, this gap was significant. They weren't just living slightly below their means. They were living substantially below them. While their income might be high, their lifestyle costs were surprisingly modest. This creates a powerful surplus of cash every single month. It's this surplus that becomes the raw material for building wealth. Without it, everything else is just spinning your wheels. Think of it like this. If you have a bucket with a hole in it, it doesn't matter how much water you pour in. It will never get full. The millionaires I studied had expertly patched any holes in their financial buckets. This might sound obvious, but the scale of it was what was so striking. We're not talking about skipping a daily coffee. We're talking about consciously choosing to live a lifestyle that might be associated with someone earning half of what they do. This means driving older, reliable cars instead of the latest luxury models, living in comfortable but not extravagant homes, and being mindful about everyday expenses. It's a deliberate choice, not a sacrifice. This discipline creates a financial engine that works for them around the clock. The bigger the gap between income and expenses, the more fuel they have for that engine. It's the foundational principle upon which everything else is built. The second major pattern was the relentless focus on automation. The millionaires I analyzed didn't rely on willpower or memory to save and invest their money. They had systems set up to do it for them automatically. Every single month, like clockwork, a significant portion of their income was automatically transferred out of their checking accounts. This money wasn't just sitting there. It was immediately directed into different investment vehicles. This pay-yourself-first strategy was non-negotiable. The money for investments was treated as the most important bill they had to pay. It came out before money was allocated for discretionary spending, hobbies, or even some bills. This systematic approach does two brilliant things. First, it removes the temptation to spend the money. If you never see it in your primary account, you're far less likely to mentally earmark it for a new gadget or a vacation. Second, it ensures consistency. Life gets busy, and it's easy to say, "I'll invest later this month." Automation removes that decision point entirely. The investing happens whether they're motivated or not, whether it's a good month or a bad one. This is backed by behavioral science. Research from economists like Richard Thaler, a Nobel laureate, has shown that automatic enrollment in savings plans dramatically increases participation and savings rates. We are wired to follow the path of least resistance, and these millionaires engineered that path to lead directly to wealth creation. They automated transfers to brokerage accounts, retirement funds, and even accounts for specific goals like real estate or education. It was a web of automatic transactions, all designed to build their net worth without requiring daily effort or thought. Now, where did all that automated money go? This leads to the third key finding, a boring but incredibly effective investment strategy. There were no wild bets on speculative assets or attempts to time the market. The overwhelming majority of their investment portfolios were in low-cost, diversified index funds and ETFs. These are funds that track a broad market index, like the S&P 500. giving them exposure to hundreds of different companies in one go. Why this approach? Because it's proven to work over the long term. Instead of trying to find the one needle in the haystack, they simply bought the entire haystack. This strategy acknowledges a simple truth. It's incredibly difficult, even for professionals, to consistently beat the market average. A famous study by S&P Dow Jones Indices, called the SPIVA report, consistently shows that over 80 to 90% of actively managed funds fail to outperform their benchmark index over long periods. The millionaires I studied seemed to intuitively understand this, or were advised by people who did. They weren't checking their portfolios every day. They weren't panicking during market downturns. They had a long-term perspective, understanding that markets go up and down, but the overall historical trend is upward. This set-it-and-forget-it approach, combined with their automated contributions, creates a powerful compounding effect. Their money was constantly working, and the returns from that work were being reinvested to generate even more returns. It's a slow, steady, and predictable path to wealth. Another surprising element was their relationship with debt. In our consumer-driven society, debt is often seen as normal. Car loans, credit card balances, personal loans, it's all part of the modern financial landscape. But in the bank accounts I analyzed, bad debt was almost non-existent. There were virtually no high-interest credit card balances being carried from month to month. There were no personal loans for vacations or luxury goods. They treated high-interest debt like a financial plague, and they avoided it at all costs. This makes perfect sense when you do the math. Paying 20% interest on a credit card balance is like trying to swim upstream against a powerful current. Any investment gains you make can be completely wiped out by the interest you're paying on debt. These millionaires understood that the guaranteed return you get from paying off a high-interest loan is often better than any potential return you could get in the market. However, there was a clear distinction. They weren't afraid of good debt. This is debt used to acquire an asset that is likely to appreciate in value or generate income, such as a mortgage for a primary residence or a loan for an investment property. Even then, they were strategic. Mortgages were often taken with significant down payments to reduce the loan amount and secure better interest rates. They were building equity, not just servicing a loan. This strategic use of leverage, while avoiding consumer debt, was a powerful wealth-accelerating tool. One of the most human elements I discovered was the presence of what I call freedom funds. These were specific savings or investment accounts earmarked for a very particular purpose: buying time and options. This wasn't an emergency fund in the traditional sense, which they also had. An emergency fund is for unexpected car repairs or medical bills. A freedom fund is for creating choices in life. This fund might be used to take a year off work to start a business, to go back to school to change careers, or to step away from a stressful job without having another one lined up immediately. It's a buffer that provides an incredible sense of security and control. Seeing these funds in their accounts showed that their goal wasn't just about accumulating money for the sake of it. It was about using money as a tool to design the life they wanted to live. It was about buying back their time, the one asset you can never earn more of. This concept is deeply psychological. Financial author Morgan Housel talks about how the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, "I can do whatever I want today." The Freedom Fund is the practical application of that idea. It transforms money from a simple number on a screen into a tangible source of autonomy and personal freedom. It's a powerful motivator to keep saving and investing, knowing that you're not just building a nest egg for retirement, but also building a life with more options and less stress right now. Finally, a common thread was a commitment to continuous learning. While I couldn't see their library cards, the financial choices they made reflected a high degree of financial literacy. They understood the concepts I've been talking about. They knew about compounding, diversification, asset allocation, and the difference between good and bad debt. This knowledge didn't come by accident. It's clear they invested in themselves and their financial education. You don't need a degree in finance to do this. There are countless books, podcasts, and online resources available. The key is to be a lifelong learner, to stay curious, and to take responsibility for your own financial education. The choices they made avoiding high-fee investment products, prioritizing low-cost funds, automating their savings, are all signs of an educated financial consumer. They weren't just passively handing their money over. They were making informed decisions. So to recap the 5 key findings from 1,000 millionaires' bank accounts. First, they create a massive gap between their income and their spending. Second, they automate everything, putting their savings and investing on autopilot. Third, they use a boring but effective investment strategy, focusing on low-cost, diversified index funds. Fourth, they aggressively avoid high-interest consumer debt while strategically using good debt. And fifth, they build freedom funds to buy themselves time, options, and control over their lives. None of this is rocket science. There's no secret password or exclusive club. It's a series of simple, repeatable habits, consistently applied over a long period of time. It's about discipline, patience, and a long-term perspective. The data showed me that becoming a millionaire, for most people, isn't about one lucky break. It's about thousands of good decisions, big and small, that compound over time. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis helpful and want more practical insights into building wealth and mastering your money, be sure to subscribe to Financial Cake.